The clarinet is one of the youngest instruments to date, yet it has quickly grown to be a staple in many different types of music. Take an adventure into the beginnings, evolution, glory, prominence, and beauty of the clarinet. The roots of the clarinet can be traced back to the turn of the 18th century, when a German instrument maker had been working hard to develop improvements for the chalumeau, an earlier single-reed instrument. His name was Johann Christoph Denner, and when he took the chalumeau, added 2 finger keys, and crafted an improved mouthpiece and bell shape, he had invented the first version of the clarinet, which had a wider range of more than 2 octaves. It is mostly agreed that the Italian word clarinetto, which means little trumpet, was used for the name because from a distance, the clarinet sound was similar to an early form of a trumpet. The wider range and unique sound of the clarinet led to it taking the place of the chalumeau in orchestral arrangements. Its prominence became clear when Mozart and Beethoven went on to write many pieces for the clarinet and made it a standard part of all orchestras.
It's never late to start clarinet because it's a very versatile instrument, very friendly. Because if you learn how to close holes, you can already play clarinet, you can play anything, from adaptation of old music to very modern jazz. Clarinet evolved later than oboe and flute, like mix of richness of tone and technical versatility. It's very special lower high register, very distinctive, very mysterious button, and lyrical or tensive top register, middle register, so-called throat notes. They're very beautiful for connecting registers. Proficient player can achieve from deepest piano till strong, beautiful, powerful forte. At this point, clarinet has some dynamic superiority over other instruments because richness of tone can be achieved in any dynamic. It doesn't mean other instruments don't have this ability, but clarinet is one which universally can be acting like an actor, from evil to the super lyrical, from hesitant to the super confident personage. There's many students which you're teaching, they so quickly absorb that, and it's so interesting, so fruitful, because you see kids just starting to from scratch, from nothing. In a year or two, start playing nicely.
The development of the clarinet can be compared to the biological evolution of a living species. After the famous refinements by Denner that began the clarinet, there were a series of other improvements by other individuals. Another very significant individual in the evolution of the clarinet was Iwan Muller, who was also an instrument maker as well as a clarinet player. Muller made revolutionary developments including the spoon key with a leather pad and indented holes with conical rings, which are all found in modern instruments. In addition, he altered the reed to a similar form of what is used today and developed a ligature which holds the reed in place. Muller's new clarinet, with 12 keys, could play chromatically, meaning all scales too, which had not been possible with any previous clarinets. Not long after the genius improvements of Muller, a German flute maker named Theobald Boehm brought some further improvements of his own. Not only did he develop a way to mathematically calculate the perfect position for tone holes, but he also created the ring key. This was revolutionary because it allowed people to cover a hole larger than their finger, which lies on the ring key. From the extensive improvements that were eventually referred to as the Boehm system, a man known as Hyacinthe Closet developed the Boehm clarinet model. Shortly after, in 1839, Closet's instrument maker, Buffet, now widely regarded as the best clarinet maker in the world, began making the model. This model of the clarinet was soon accepted throughout the world and is actually the same one that is played globally today.
I love the tone of it. I love the range of it. I think it's a very versatile instrument. You can play it in a symphony orchestra, you can play it in a concert band, you can play it in a marching band, play it in a jazz band. So there are not a lot of instruments that can cover that full range that a clarinet can. I think clarinet is a great instrument for kids to play. You can feel successful after a fairly short period of time playing the clarinet as a young person, but it is something that you can grow and become a fine musician playing clarinet. Being a part of the music program at my high school, some of my closest friends were made playing in the band. As a young person, I loved listening to Benny Goodman. He was kind of my first exposure to a professional clarinet player.
Moving forward to the well-known period of the 1940s, there was the big band jazz era. Many consider this to be the modern clarinet's most famous time. It is true that when most people think of jazz, the saxophone is usually one of the first things that comes to mind. This is because the saxophone's easier fingering and mellower tone led to it replacing the clarinet in various songs. However, the clarinet has been, and still is, featured in many jazz bands. The greatest times of clarinet and jazz are best shown in the performances of several talented jazz clarinetists. Some of them include Woody Herman and his band, who love to play exciting, fast-paced songs. Pee Wee and Jimmy Giuffre. Here they perform a slow, mellow blues tune in a duet. Artie Shaw, a beloved, charming artist who is famous for playing along with his own big band. And Benny Goodman, one of the most respected names in all of jazz history, known for being an excellent player as well as the bandleader of his own jazz orchestra. He has performed with many famous celebrities, as well as in popular films.
I think the clarinet's probably my favorite instrument in terms of the way it sounds. I also just like the tactile response. It's like when I play technical passages, kind of the way it feels under my fingers when I get it. It's made out of wood, and so it kind of gets this kind of like natural feel that you don't normally get with other instruments like, say, a flute or a saxophone, which sound pretty studio. I think it was a really good way for myself to kind of learn how to use my brain in a different way. And even if you don't stick with the clarinet, it's just a really good way to be able to learn discipline and hard work and kind of how to work at something that you're trying to do to perfect it.
Taking a look into what the clarinet has become today, its prominence lies mainly in world-renowned symphony orchestras around the globe and in the hands of young students in middle school, high school, and even college band programs who learn from a young age and grow into skilled musicians. From the early pieces of wood, somehow considered instruments, to the hands of masterful German instrument makers back in the 1700s, to the popular buffet models enjoyed by many, to the era of jazz and talented clarinetists, to the famous symphony orchestras of many cities, to the confused faces of students trying to make a sound on the clarinet they finally learned how to put together. The clarinet has become not only a fundamental part of music, but a work of brilliance that can be enjoyed both by learning how to play and perform for others, as well as listening to its sweet, rich, distinguished, and eloquent sound. It is all of this that makes up the beauty of the clarinet.